saying, of course, we're not formal saying we're inspecting them,
Mm-hmm.
but just on the not on the professional side, but on the just the off side where you just kind of checking something out. We check things out all the time. I can I can tell you how many times have you gotten in the Walmart line and the girl that's waiting on you have super duper huge eyelashes. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I've been inspecting them like now. Where is she going? This is not the Grammys. Just bring my little stuff up and come on now, all glamorous at the daggone Walmart counter. So we, in little ways, small ways, big ways. I think we inspect all the time.
Okay, and I agree with that. And even when we go into Walmart, we inspect the lines, right? We see who has the shortest line, who has the longest line. Whether we
Yeah.
want to go through self checkout, we inspect our time at that moment and say, do I have time to stand in these lines, or do I want to check myself out because I got somewhere to go? So I do agree with you, Linnell. I think we always doing some type of inspection, either consciously or self consciously. So
Yeah.
my next
Also, we
question.
inspecting what we buying.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm gonna turn it upside downwards, feel it to see if
Exactly.
it feel the way I
Exactly.
wanted to feel, or look the way I wanted to look, or smell the way I wanted to smell. Because if it don't, I'm not going to I'm not gonna buy it. And yes, when they inspect your receipts when you leave out of certain stores, that not I feel some kind of way when you want to treat me like I steal. And you standing at the door, you want me to check myself out, but you want to then verify that I did it correctly. So yes, I definitely agree with that. Even when you go into Walmart, sometimes I don't even like going into Walmart just for that very reason, that you want to see my receipt to make sure that I purchased everything in my cart.
My boyfriend used to do home inspections, and he used to talk about like all the different stuff they used to have to do. He would be like, you would think like the real high rise apartments or like the really expensive homes, like you would think they would be the nicest ones. He was like, but on the inside, they're the dirtiest houses, they're the dirtiest places you've ever seen. Or like he'll be getting stuff expected so that people could purchase, and then something wasn't right, or like the
Mm-hmm.
wires was faulty, or they was like they got their homeboy up the street to hook it up and it wasn't right, so it couldn't pass inspection. So he used to talk about that all the time.
And then they get mad when you ask them to fix the things, because they feel like you shouldn't be asking them to fix nothing. Just buy whatever it is I'm selling. How many times have we been encountered with that? You just want somebody to just buy what you're selling. No, you're not going to explain it to me or fix it. I need to kick these tires to make sure this car not going to fall apart before I purchase it. So my next question would be, do you think Noah went through some self-inspection?
I would say yes.
Like a self inspection while on like the journey or something like that.
Yeah, or just like basically like, why did God choose me and my family? Why am I the righteous one? I said, nobody else was
Mm.
going under inspection during this time to see if they qualified to build the ark. So do you think Noah had to ask himself, why me?
Yeah, you remember when you
I don't,
showed the
I
clip
don't,
from the movie last week?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And he was like, you talk about me? He was like,
Me?
I can't even build. He was like, what do
Yeah.
you mean? He was like,
and he
you
Yeah.
was
even have a
overweight.
beard? I don't have a beard. I can't be no, I don't have a beard. I was
Yes.
like,
Yes.
yeah,
So
like
I definitely feel like Noah said, why me? I know he probably looked down the street, and because he had, think about it, Noah had brothers. We went through the family line last week. He had cousins. So I know he had to thank God, why me? Because I even think about me sometimes, even when I say, God, you chose me. Why me? What is so special or about me that you chose me and you didn't choose the next person?
But why not you though, Danielle?
And that's exactly what somebody else said to me today, Renee. Why not me?
My
And
mother
I
used to
think
tell me that all the time.
and I think we do that though. We
Mm-hmm.
so much want to question why us, that we're not worthy. And so we like, well, why me? And it's like, well, why not you? Because you have so much doubt on yourself that you don't feel like you're worthy of the things that someone has called you to be. It could be a position at your job that you going up for, and you like, man, I don't think that's for me because I don't have the degrees to go with it. I'm not in the right clique. Why they choosing me? And sometimes you start to think, are they choosing me for a setup to see me fail? You start to question everything because it can't be no good coming out of it because you don't feel like you deserve it. So
I learned.
mhm,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Well, I learned that for one, I know that Noah probably felt that way because he was a drunk. So I know he felt like, man, I know good and daggone well he can't be talking about me. But that's the main people that God uses, those who are least likely, because then you know that it was God. You absolutely know that it could not have been the person because he'll use the unlikeliest people for the mightiest jobs because then he gets the glory, you know.
Absolutely.
But I know, I mean, looking at Noah's story, I know that he had to feel like, why me? Because he literally, was an alcoholic. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I feel like, so I said, I have to think that God did inspect some others to see if he or she could trust, if he could trust him or her to do as he commanded them to do without asking no questions. But they had to show signs of not being able to pass inspection. So my question is, before you tell me what verses reach out to you, what are some signs that might cause us to fail inspection in God's eyes? What are some things that might cause us to pass inspection, to fail inspection in God's eyes?
I would say disobedience. Just doing wanting to do things your way and not being submissive to the things that you know are of God. He uses us all, but he also gives us free will. So
Absolutely.
if you consistently, if he's calling you and you consistently turning your back on that calling, then he won't use you because he can't.
Absolutely. Disobedience. I like that. Anything else? Any other characteristic you think would cause us to fail inspection in God's eyes?
I'll say being
Um,
selfish.
Selfish. I
mhm.
like that.
Yeah, I like
Uh-huh.
selfish
I
too.
like
Yeah.
I would
selfish.
say, I would say not like trusting in him or not remaining faithful.
No
No,
faith.
yeah,
Mhm.
like not remaining faithful, keep questioning what his plan is, just not holding faith.
Yeah, because
I'll,
Noah didn't question God. He did what God
Right.
commanded him. We gonna discuss that further when we start asking what questions, what verses reach out. Any other characteristics?
Like you can't forgive people, like you won't give people that forgiveness that like God gave you.
Unforgiveness. I like that one. That's
Being
hard.
ungrateful. It's
Being
very
ungrateful.
hard.
It's hard to forgive somebody that you feel like has hurt you to your core.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other characteristics we want to write down on this list? I'll make sure when I send out the recap, I'll send out these words. Because sometimes we even gotta look at some of these things ourselves. Like, has there ever been a time, Lord, that I've been disobedient? Have it ever been a time, Lord, that I've been selfish? Has it ever been a time that I didn't have any faith? Has there ever been a time when I have been unforgiven? Has it ever been a time when I've been ungrateful? Any other things we want to add to this list? So when we going back and we reflecting on this week's message, we can look at some of the characteristics of some things that might cause us to fail inspection.
Not taking accountability.
Not taking accountability. Okay. Anything
Maybe
else?
being too prideful, like having
Oh,
too much
no
pride.
Yeah.
humility. I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
Not taking
Yes, that's a
accountability.
real good one.
Oh, I like that. Not being humble. Any other ones?
how about greedy?
Self-seeking.
Being greedy.
Being greedy, because that's a sin. Greed is a
Oh
sin.
yeah.
I like
Right,
that one.
right.
Yeah,
hmm
This was a good question for sure.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Anything else before we move? I don't want to cut anybody else off because I'm gonna send them all out. And make sure if you're new to the Bible study tonight and you don't get my emails, please put your email in the chat and Brenda will get it. And that way we'll get the weekly emails out to you to remind you about Bible study, that you know what the next reading is gonna be, and give you a recap of what we went over. Anything else before we move? Any other characteristics, or y'all ready to move?
What about the lack of trust? Because do you
Okay.
really trust what he asking you to do?
Okay, lack of trust.
Mhm.
Put that down. Anything else? All right. Okay, so now I got my Bible, y'all. What verses do y'all want to discuss? Out of Genesis 7, and then we'll go with what I have written down, and maybe with some of the same verses that y'all pulled out will be some of the same verses that I pulled out. Shantanice?
I want. Oh
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
no,
ahead,
no,
Maria.
that's fine.
You
No,
sure?
real quick. I just wanted to know what does it mean, clean and unclean animal?
Okay, so the clean animals are the animals that they use to sacrifice in the altar, and we'll get to that more. I believe that's in Genesis 9, when you'll see and even I think at the end of 8, he sacrificed the clean animals. You can't sacrifice the unclean animals on the altar to the Lord for your sacrifice. When he said, okay,
Okay.
I sacrificed the lamb, they have to be clean animals. But he
Okay.
still took some of the unclean, which is good, because if you think about it, he take us when we unclean and he clean us up too.
Wasn't
Right.
the
Okay.
pig an
Got
example
it.
of like an unclean? Like the pig wasn't clean, and that's why.
Like a lot of people don't eat pork. Yeah.
Yeah, like I forget who it was, but the Lord told the people to put lamb's blood on their doors to protect the
Yeah, we're gonna get
infants.
to that when
Yeah,
Moses is getting the people out
yeah,
of Egypt.
yeah.
Shantanice, what's your question? I mean, what verse you
Yeah.
like?
That was actually one of them because I was confused about. So it was, in 7, where
Mm-hmm.
what was it? Verse 2, about take with you 7 of every kind of clean animal,
Mm-hmm.
a male and its mate, and 2 of every kind of unclean animal, a
Mm-hmm.
male and its mate. So y'all kind of
Yeah.
clarified that because my first thought was, well, why would he want you to take unclean animals if his
Mm-hmm.
job,
Mm-hmm.
his main motive is to purify? Like,
Purify.
why take
Mm-hmm.
unclean? So that was my main thing.
Okay.
So I get it now.
Okay.
The other thing,
Mm-hmm.
mhm,
Go ahead.
the other one that stood out to me was the last verse, verse 20, where it says in chapter 8,
Wait a minute, we ain't get to
then
8 yet.
Noah.
Wait a minute. We still on
Oh,
7.
psych, just kidding, sorry.
It,
But yeah,
it's okay. Hold that till we get to 8.
that was the only one that kind of,
That's
it was
okay.
just 2 that stood
That
out, but
hey,
that,
hey, I know that's right. We going in here. Hold your question till we get to 8.
I
All right.
forgot,
Um,
sorry.
anybody
But that
else
was my
got a
only
verse?
one.
Anybody else got a verse that we could get to? Ashley, you raised your hand. What verse you want? Talk to. You on mute, Ashley. Okay. Anybody else before you got anybody else before I give mine?
I was just looking and throughout a couple of the verses. I don't have my glasses on, but I was just looking how in a couple of the verses it was saying that number 7 came back in here again.
Mm-hmm.
And the number 7 when it was saying like she was saying in 2, he said take the clean and the unclean. I was thinking, I was like, okay, so are you saying that you're taking the people on the ark that you feel as though are representative of you fully, to the extent like Noah that's being obedient, but he also took the family with him as well, that he didn't say that they were obedient to the Lord. He just said take you and your family. So I kind of took it like that with the clean and the unclean. You said Noah, you chose him,
Yeah, you
so you
chose
knew he was
Noah.
going to be obedient.
Mm-hmm. And you
But
told
you
Noah
didn't
to
choose
bring
the
his
other one. Right. You didn't choose the other ones that came on.
Mm-hmm.
But then here go that number 7 coming up in there again, which we discussed already. We already said that that's a form of full and completeness.
Okay.
So
I
we're going
like
to get
it.
you some completeness up in here somewhere.
I like it. So my question is, in verse number 1, so let's read it. Then the Lord said to Noah, into the ark, you and all your household, for I have seen that you alone are righteous, but for me in this generation. Why is the word then? so important in the very first part of the sentence. If you think about the word then, when you're thinking about sentencing, why is then so important?
I guess he was saying, I see that you did the job I asked of you, so now you gain passage. Because he asked him to do a lot.
Yeah. So if we remember in Genesis 6:22, is that what I wrote down? Genesis 6:22, he said, and Noah did this. He did everything that God had commanded him. So I wrote down, because nothing could happen until Noah had done all that God commanded him.
Like he earned his way.
Yeah, so he did. God told him to do these things, and he said, "Okay, I'm going to do them." And then where we are. You did it. It passed my inspection, because the Lord had to look at it from outside and say, "Okay, he built it by the specs that he told him to build it by. Okay, it passed inspection. Now it's then now you can enter the ark." Anybody else have anything they want to add to that? Shantanice, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, mine was about a different verse, but
Go
that
ahead.
doesn't make sense what you're saying. My other confusion was like how many days they actually had to endure the flood. Because I'm a critical person. So I was counting like, wait a minute, 150. Then I was like, wait a minute.
150
He
days
said
it
40 days.
rained.
Right.
Yeah, so it rained for and that's one of my questions too. Why did God let it rain for 150 days? Before I give my answer, does anybody else have an answer that they want to give for why the Lord had to let it rain for so many days? Okay. So since I titled this, I passed inspection, I feel God had to let it rain until everything outside of that ark passed his inspection. It took 150 days for the evil, the people, the animals, the sin. It took 150 days of the rain and the flood to be rid of the land. So it took that long for God to say, "Okay, I passed it passed inspection. I can stop the flood water from coming down." Anybody else have anything they want to add to that, or anything else? Okay. So I said, can you imagine what Noah might have looked like to everybody else, to his family, to his friends? Noah trusted God and trusted that all he said would happen. Can you imagine I'm outside, everybody else doing whatever they doing, and I'm just out here every day building this ark, and people probably coming, just like on the clip that we showed last week. People were looking up at him like, "You out here building this ark." His own family didn't even believe in him. Like, what are you doing? So can you imagine how he had to keep going through that self-inspection on himself? Like, "Lord, is this truly what you want me to do?" Because people think I look like a fool, but he still did it. So I says today, some of us don't or won't do what God commands us because we are afraid of what others might think or say. We can be afraid of going through that inspection process, because going through that inspection process, it might isolate you, because you're like, "Okay, now I gotta do this, I gotta do that, or I can no longer do this, I can no longer do that." So now you're under inspection. It's like you kind of under that microscope, and people don't like that. So I said everything and everyone went into the ark as the Lord commanded, and then the Lord shut them in. Remember that was in the verse. God, in verse number 16, those that entered, male and female of every creature, entered just as God had commanded them. Then the Lord shut them in. Noah didn't shut that door. Noah kids didn't shut the door. The elephant's tail didn't shut the door. The Lord shut the door. So the Lord shut the door so that the Lord would be the one to get the credit for shutting the people out and not Noah. Because you know how people would talk, well, you did this or you did that. You didn't let me in, because they was probably banging on that door. Open the door, open the door. Why you won't let me in? But he didn't, because that's not what the Lord told him to do. So Noah did just what the Lord commanded him to do. One of my favorite quotes, and for anybody that's on here, is if I'm about to do something, you'll hear me say, well, let me see what thus saith the Lord. So I need to see what the Lord says about this decision that I'm going to get ready to make. And it's so bad, y'all, that I jokingly apply this to when I have to buy something, like some shoes or something. I'll be like, oh, let me see what thus saith the Lord. And then most of the time he says yes. So before we move on,
the Lord ain't had nothing to say.
Caitlin, don't do that to
About
me.
no shoes.
Don't say that. Don't say that. I
Look.
asked the Lord, and he gave me some
Look.
type of permission.
Well, what did he say, Danielle, about them 35 other pairs that's sitting in the house?
He told
What
me
did he say
to
about
get them.
them?
That's why I said most of the time,
Don't be trying to
Lanelle,
blame that on
most
no
of the
Lord.
time, he says yes. Ashley,
You
got
sure
your
that's
hand
the
raised?
Lord? You
Yeah.
sure that's the Lord you hear?
Courtney, it's the Lord. Ashley, what you had to
Well,
say?
every time I go in there, it be the sales lady. It be the sales lady. That be like, girl, them shoes will look good on you.
And that's the Lord speaking through her. The Lord speaking
I
through
was
her.
just about to say that the Lord gave her a message.
Thank
That's
you,
what it
Caitlin.
was.
My God. Why we
Oh.
blood related? That's
No,
why we blood related.
It's usually the Lord saying that, good and well, you got 14
What
other
the
pairs
Lord
of black
say? He
shoes you don't
said,
even wear. Get out of this
he
store.
say,
That be the Lord.
He said,
right?
be fruitful and multiply. So I'm multiplying these shoes that I got.
Exactly. Joy cometh in the
Girl.
morning, and it come with a package.
Lord have mercy.
So, Ashley, you had a question?
It wasn't so much. I was having technical difficulties. I couldn't get the phone to work right. But
Okay.
the verse that kind of stood out to me wasn't really kind of. It was actually verse number 5. So Noah did everything as the Lord commanded him. And it took me, I was kind of like stuck there on that verse when you was reading it, because I told you I'm reading from the Life Recovery Bible. So it starts to talk about the example Noah set for his sons as a parent, about how he was obedient, how he taught his sons obedience and being consistent. And I don't know, that kind of like sat with me, because they even like children, it seemed like children become who they're surrounded by, or surrounded around, or they learn from the adults in their life. So it's just, I don't know, it kind of stuck with me when I read that.
So, okay, when you said what does it really say in your Bible about how Noah showed the example to his children? Can you read it?
It says, wait a minute, because I don't have my glasses on. They're in my car. Wait a minute, give me a second. I gotta find it again.
Because I like that. Because I never looked at that point of it, that by Noah doing everything that the Lord commanded him, his children was looking at what he did.
So it says the principles. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It says the principles of obedience to God, consistency and patience were taught to Noah's sons and their wives. When judgment came upon the world, Noah, his wife, his sons, and their wives were spared. The Bible tells us later in his life, after the flood, Noah became, okay, that I didn't want to go to that part, but it also say how, because I don't want to give nothing away. But it says, as we look at Noah's life, we are reminded that our children learn from our examples. They often receive great blessings from the good things we do, but they also suffer from our mistakes. Like Noah, all of us have made mistakes, but those mistakes can become insignificant through our repentance and obedience to God's word. We must remember that children become like the adults who surround them.
Because that reminds us of the generational curses that we talked about last week. So that was definitely good. Thank you for sharing that with us, Ashley. That was awesome. Anybody else have anything else in this chapter that they want to pull out before we move to chapter 8? No. All right. Let's ready. Y'all ready to move to chapter 8? Okay. God remembered Noah as well as all the wildlife and all the livestock that were with him in the ark. God caused the wind to pass over the earth and the water began to subside. The sources of the watery depths and the floodgates of the sky were closed, and the rain from the sky stopped. The water steadily receded from the earth, and by the end of the 150 days, the water had decreased significantly. The ark came to rest in the 7th month on the 17th day of the month on the mountains of R.E.A.L. There go that 7 again, Sherry. Verse 5. The water continued to recede until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the first day of the month, the tops of the mountains were visible. After 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark that he had made, and he sent out a raven. The raven went back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see whether the water on the earth's surface had gone down. But the dove found no resting place for its foot. It returned to him in the ark because water covered the surface of the whole earth. He reached out and brought it into the ark to himself. So Noah waited 7 more days and sent out the dove from the ark again. When the dove came to him at evening, there was a plucked olive leaf in its beak. So Noah knew that the water on the earth's surface had gone down. After he waited another 7 days, he sent out the dove, but it did not return to him again. In the 601st year, in the 1st month, on the 1st day of the month, the water that had covered the earth was dried up. Then Noah removed the ark's cover and saw that the surface of the ground was drying. By the 27th day of the 2nd month, the earth was dry. Then God spoke to Noah, "Come out of the ark, you, your wife, your sons, and your sons' wives with you. Bring out all the living creatures that are with you, birds, livestock, those that crawl on the earth, and they will spread over the earth and be fruitful and multiply on the earth." So Noah, along with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives, came out. All the animals, all the creatures that crawl, and all the flying creatures, everything that moves on the earth, came out of the ark by their families. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord. He took some of every kind of the clean animal and every kind of clean bird and offered the burnt offerings on the altar. When the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma, he said to himself, "I will never again curse the ground because of human beings. Even though the inclination of the human heart is evil from youth onward, I will never again strike down every living thing as I have done. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night will not cease." All right. Any particular verse before I pull out?
Yes, I have a question
Mm-hmm.
or a statement.
Mm-hmm.
So right there in 3, when it talked about at the end of the 150 days. So I was thinking, with that being said, their days back in the biblical times was longer than our days. So I was just baffled that you kept them on there for so long. They couldn't look out the ark. They couldn't, they had to do everything on the ark. You couldn't have any part of the outside.
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting there like, how were they really feeling on there? Like, to be with your family and, have good times. But
But why
that
do you
was a
think
test.
that? Why do you think he kept them
That's what was
closed
my
in?
question.
Okay, I mean, anybody want to answer why he think that he kept them closed in and didn't let them see out? They had a little window, But
Right, but it never mentioned that they
but
even tried to look out.
yeah. Anybody want to take a stab at
I
that?
have an opinion.
All right, go
I
ahead.
have an opinion. I think that it's the same way, not really the same way, but kind of like the pandemic when we were locked in.
My God.
I think that in this particular place, I think I think he because when God locks you in and not necessarily like take it out of the ark. Look at ourselves when he locks us into his purpose and he has a purpose and plan for us. He wants us to be keenly focused on the inner. He don't want you to focus on what's going on around you, what's going on outside of you. He wants your focus to be specifically what he's doing on the inside so that he locked them in and kept them not necessarily he had the little window, but even if they looked out there, it wasn't gonna be nothing for them to see but water.
Mhm.
But he wanted them to be focused on what he was doing on the inside and trust him enough to wait on him for what he was going to do on the outside. And he does that to us even now.
My God.
So I
Thank
think
you,
that's
Linnell.
why he did it.
Thank you. Ashley, what you want to add?
Mhm.
I feel like they didn't come out because, or well, they weren't let out, or they couldn't see out the window. Just pretty much, basically, he was trying to protect them.
My
Like
God.
that's the whole point of him putting them on the ark, to spare them, to protect them, to keep them safe while
Eh,
he did what he had to do.
Yeah. From that evil that was outside. What you guys say, Shantanese?
I was just agreeing with everybody. I'm putting
Yes.
my hand down because
Oh,
y'all said
okay.
a mouthful.
Oh, yeah. I mean that right there is so good.
Mhm.
Linnell, thank you for giving us that pandemic reference. Because even
Mhm.
when we were locked in here, I didn't even think about how we were just in our own basically little ark during that pandemic and we couldn't look out. And guess what? It gave a lot of people a lot of time to do inspection of themselves and their families. Think about it. It was some people that wanted to get away. You know, one of my sisters is a school teacher. And it was hard for some of these parents to teach their kids. They had to really do some inspection on their children. And they like, when the school's opening back up, because I need them to go back. Because this ain't for me. So when you have so much time to sit to look at yourself, sometimes that's some ugly time of reflection. And a lot of people did get divorced over the pandemic. Anybody else? Before anybody else want to comment on that before I start?
That was good.
That was good.
That's what
Okay.
I was thinking that our partial of that, but that clarity, yeah, that
Yeah.
was good.
Okay. So I said in chapter 8, Noah is still under inspection because it was during this time that God remembered him. Remember, we read that in there? And he stopped the flood. Now, in the beginning of 8, when the word says, but God remembered Noah, I don't want you to think he ever forgot about him. It was the time, when God was doing his inspection and said, okay, he passed. Let me stop this flood. Isn't it strange, though, that even after the flood stopped, Noah had to go through another inspection before he could leave the ark? The ark offered a level of protection from whatever was still happening outside. So God didn't let anyone or anything out of the ark until the environment outside of the ark had passed inspection. Sometimes you can't move because the environment that you are moving into is not ready, or you may not be ready for it. Noah sent out the dove to inspect the land to see if it was suitable to come out of the ark. And every time the dove came back, Noah knew the land did not pass inspection. However, one time he sent the dove out, the dove did come back, but he came back with a fresh olive leaf. And Noah felt like, you know what? It's almost time, but not quite yet. You see, God might let you peek and see what's ahead, give you a little taste, but no, you can't have all of it right yet because you are not ready. Oh, But when he sent that dove out and the dove didn't come back, he knew it was ready. So he removed the covering of the ark and saw the earth was dry. And then God commanded him and his family and all the animals to come out the ark. And I believe Noah said, I passed inspection. Any part of chapter 8 that y'all want to discuss? Go ahead, Ashley.
The first part that stood out to me was, then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and then he sacrificed as burnt offerings the animals and birds that had been approved. Number
what verse
20,
you on? Okay.
approved for that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Just that verse,
Mm-hmm.
that first line, then Noah built an altar. He was
Mm-hmm.
he the first one in the Bible to build an altar for the Lord?
Let's see. Does anybody know the answer to that? Let's see.
Because I know he wasn't the first one to make an offering, but I wonder if he was the first one to like build an altar for him.
Well, let's see.
I think so.
I think so too, Ashley. Hold on. I'm going to Google it and see what Google say. While I'm Googling it, anybody else?
I got it. That wasn't it. I mean, it was it's like 20. Oh, I'm sorry. It's 20 to it's 20 to 22 actually, because after he built the altar, they made the offering and he was pleased with the smell, and that's when he said he will never again curse the ground of the human race. Even though my Bible say, even though everything they think or imagine is bent toward evil from childhood.
That's what mine say.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I found it said the first time the word altar is mentioned and recorded in the Bible is through Noah. Even though we know that in Genesis 4, 3 and 4, we can clearly see that Cain and Abel gave offerings. It didn't say they built the altar. So he was the first one to build an altar. Shantanice, you have a question?
Yeah, because 20 I had marked down as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see until I had the whole thing marked down from 20 to 22 because when I read it, I didn't know that he gave any offerings or built the altar. That was new to me.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was really like trying to connect is, have anybody ever heard when they say, when you see the rainbow and they say God is that's the sign that's supposed to be symbolic of God never, or making, I guess, a promise to never diminish the world or people in it by flood. And it was supposed to be the symbolic thing of that was supposed to be a rainbow. That's why after it rain, you see that rainbow symbol of God did this before, but he promised never to do it again.
Okay.
I didn't know who came up with that, because if you think about that section, I feel like that section kind of is what kind of solidified God saying, I made that promise and never going to do it, no matter if the world is made out of sin or born of sin. So I was just like, I wonder who came up with this wise tale of the rainbow.
But just,
being symbolic.
A lot of wives' tales, we can make anything sound good if it sounds good to us. So,
Right.
give somebody something to believe in. But I like that when we want to sit on 20 for a minute and we want to look at 21, I like when it says, when the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma. Let's talk about that. Because why do you think the aroma was pleasing to him?
Can I go?
Go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
I believe it's because of what Noah and his family offered to him. It wasn't just the aroma. It was the animals that he offered, because they were already approved for that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Bible says. So I think that's why he was so pleased with the aroma.
Okay. Anybody else got a take on that?
And it was the first thing he did. Like, it didn't say they built a house. It didn't say they walked around. It didn't say they inspected. Before we do anything else, we need to build an altar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Well, I think the aroma was really pleasing to God, because it's like when you are a proud parent and you sit and you watch your kid do something good and you smile because you're like, wow, they did that. So I think the aroma of the offering was pleasing because Noah did what he was commanded to do. And God was pleased with him for doing it. Because even though God commanded us to do stuff, don't mean we're going to do it. How many times we ask God, give me a sign, Lord? And he done gave us the sign. And we still did what we wanted to do. So I have to believe that it was pleasing because also with everybody else's thoughts, but also because he was so excited and so happy that Noah stayed. He kept everybody alive. Think about everything that had to work together for this flood to take place. Noah had to do what he was supposed to do. The animals had to come without being beat and broken and dragged in. His family had to go in there. Everything had to do what it was commanded to do for this to work. So I think God said, oh, he was pleased because it all worked out. Anybody else?
Can we touch on? Can I make a quick comment about the rainbow? Because I heard that too. The young lady that talked about that the rainbow is a sign in the sky. I think that's in reference to to Genesis 9. I think it's Genesis 9, where God made a covenant with Noah, and he I think it's actually Genesis 9:9, where he establishes a covenant with Noah, speaking on his descendants and with every living creature and all of that stuff. And then as you read down to chapter 12, it says, and God said, "This is the sign of the covenant I am making between me and you and every living creature with you, a covenant for all generations to come. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I bring clouds
Oh.
over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and all living creatures of every kind. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. Whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures of every kind on the earth." So I think the rainbow is more of a remembrance, a reminder to God of the covenant that he made with Noah, that he didn't want
Yeah,
to
I see that.
destroy the earth through water. It's really not a covenant. It's not a remembrance for us. I mean, it is, but it's really a reminder to him that
More so
he
to
remembers
signify what he did and what he told Noah. That makes
exactly the
sense.
covenant between him and Noah. Yeah.
See,
How
Look at that.
that's
crazy
getting
is
Look at
that?
straight in
that.
the
We
head.
learning. We
Mm-hmm.
learning. We learning.
Because
We
I know I've
learning.
always
I knew
heard
I
that.
remembered that because I heard it too and
I've
was like,
always heard
and
it.
I mean, you just grow up with that stuff and you never really know where
Mm-hmm.
it came from. I never thought of it either, but I had remembered reading about it years ago. I knew it was
Right.
somewhere
And I
in
was like,
there.
it's touching bases on something. That thank you for
Yeah,
clarifying because
yeah.
I was like, I thought it was true, but okay, because that was a little dark talking about sacrificing instead of a
Right,
rainbow.
right,
But okay.
right,
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to pull out
right.
anything
You're welcome.
before our lesson ends for the evening?
I I thought where it said
Give us your verse, Caitlin.
verse, I think it's 21,
Mm-hmm.
where he said every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, because we're taught like babies are born,
But see, that's a baby. That's not a youth, right?
oh,
So
okay.
let's think about that. We talking youth. So we're not talking baby infants. We talking
Mm-hmm.
youth.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is the difference in that. From when you become a child and on, not a baby, not an infant,
Mm-hmm.
a child and on. That's when I think that's what they talk about. Um, so it's not so much as because I know you was probably getting ready to say we were born into sin, right? So I
Yeah.
definitely see where you could get that from. But he said from your youth, not from the baby or the infant stage. Anybody else want to pull anything out before I share my part to tie it all together?
Mm-mm.
Nobody, anybody else? All right, hold on. All right. Can you guys hear it?
No.
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 Okay,
No.
hold on. I know why. Hold on.
It does not look good, Oscar. I found contamination in red zones. Your glass freezer door has a hairline break in it, and I found black pellets behind the food containers in the back.
That is probably just graphite from the new units we put in.
And your water's only 105 degrees.
Can you just let that slide?
Well, the requirement is 110 because science tells us at that temperature, all dangerous organisms will die. That means in your water, some will live. And not just any germs, Oscar. Oh no, the badass ones. The ones that can swim in 105-degree temperature water and live to party on some child's French fries.
We don't serve fries.
Are you mocking me?
No, ma'am.
That's good because I'm not done yet. This entire kitchen gets a level 4 sanitation or you get written up.
What? That means it's in the newspaper.
Oh, well, thank goodness for you. I've got a soft heart.
Heart? You don't have a heart. You got a hole with an ice pump in it. You know, I don't understand you. Why do you have to be so goddamned uncompromising?
It's called principle, Oscar. Maybe the world is in short supply, but I am not. You see, people pay their tax dollars for my principle, so they can go into a restaurant and not eat chicken fried rat or bite into a bacon, lettuce, and ptomaine sandwich. If I slack up on you, then I have to cut everyone a break, and pretty soon the almonds on your salad have legs. If that makes me uncompromising, well, I wear it as a badge of honor because I'm in damn good company. Martin Luther King was uncompromising. Nelson Mandela was uncompromising, and I'm sure your mother was uncompromising, although the evidence of that is not apparent today. So, why don't you think of me as your mom right now? And Mama says, clean it up! See you in 48 hours.
What y'all think about it?
Classic.
Uh-huh. She was she needed her, she was in it, she did her inspection. So and I feel like to an extent that's how God was when he was going out. He was like, nope, this still ain't clean. Nope, this still dirty. Nope, it ain't time yet. And instead of looking at me like your mama, look at me like your daddy. And you can't come out until I say you can. So I guess our homework for this week, you guys, is gonna be let's do some definitely some self-inspection on our lives, on where we are and where we're going. Write it down, see what we can do to make things better, and the things that we can do that we need to take out so we can get room, because it's inspection time. And for us to get to that next level, we got to pass the inspection that we on now. So, ask God, hey, what do I need to do, Lord? Because I want to pass this level so I can get to my next level. But just, I want you to know, I want to leave you guys with this, that you're going to always, in one way or another, be under inspection. So, I like to end with, what did we learn? So anybody want to share what they learned today? Sure, you want to share what you learned today?
Well, I'm definitely going to be doing some self-inspection. But I think what I'm going to do even more is learn to not, one of our signs of inspection you said was somebody mentioned selfish. So I think I want to be a little more selfish and do a little more inspecting on me to get more in tune with God as far as my relationship, because I'm not going to say I don't have one, But this is really pulling me in. It'll make me want to get to know him a little better and to stay in tune. That's the word I want to say, stay in tune, because we can be in tune with him when it's good for us, but I need to stay in tune at all times.
Okay, so you want to use that selfishness not as a bad thing, but as a
No.
good thing for you to say,
Yeah.
okay, I want to be selfish with
Yeah.
me so
Yeah.
I could get me straight. Okay, I like it,
Yeah.
Caitlin.
And
What did
holding
you learn?
myself accountable for what I am and am not doing.
I love
That's
it.
accountable for that.
Caitlin, what did you learn?
I learned that they were in the ark for a really long time. And sometimes, even though you might feel like it's time for you to move or it's time for you to, go forward, like me personally, I'm graduating in 2 months and I feel like I should already have a job lined up. I feel like I should already be in a certain place. But God's like, hold on. I'm getting you ready, but I need you to do this first. I need you to finish this step first, and then you'll be ready for what else I have for you. But
because you got past your inspection for the level you on now before you can move to the next level.
Yeah, and the job that I have now, the manager that I was working for, I felt bad because I was working 2 jobs and jobs in the mall, whatever. And come to find out, the nonprofit that I work for now, the manager that I had told the owner of the nonprofit about me.
Look at God.
Said, I have a girl, she's a sociology major, she's going to be graduating soon, you should reach out to her. I didn't even know that he said this. I just went on Indeed, saw that they was hiring and applied. And we sitting in a meeting and he's like, oh, you are who, I heard about 9 months ago. And it's like, I was so frustrated about working 2 jobs and being at the mall again and all this other stuff. Little did I know, God put me in that mall to get the job at the nonprofit to help people and to deliver to them and to serve him in this way. Before I can serve in any other way, once I graduate, I need you to do this first. And he was working on this 9 months ago.
That's how good. That's how God is. I love that. I love that. You in position to serve. And it might not be the way you want that position to be. It might not be the servitude that you want to give. So we are in position to serve. And so you had to pass the inspection on that level of servitude before you can move to the next level of servitude. Anybody else want to share what they learned?
I'll share.
Because it goes right with what. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Thea.
Go ahead, Ashley. Then Linnell, you can share, and then I'll share what I learned.
Well, this is the first time that I viewed like Noah as a parent. I just always looked at him as he was the one that built the ark and he took his family with him and the animals so they could populate the earth when they come off the ark. That's how I always viewed it. I never really went into depth as far as like, because sometimes when you read, you just read, you're not really taking it in. So I'm really just looking at it. I really looked at it from Noah being a father and a parent and the examples he was setting for his children. And I learned that he was the first person in the Bible to build an altar.
Look at that. Okay. What else? Linnell, what did you learn?
Mine ties right into what the young lady was speaking on. As far as when they got locked into the ark, it just reminded me to be patient with God's purpose. We don't always necessarily understand God's ways, but when He says, "Trust me, because I know the plans that I have for you," you have to really trust those plans and be patient with them. And even though it might not be in our time, He's working something out in His time. And so I just learned to be reminded of that throughout all of the tough times that I go through or have gone through. You just have to be patient with God as He's working something new out for you.
I love it. Anybody else want to share what they learned?
I definitely took a lot from that, like, to kind of branch off what you guys were saying about how it's okay to be patient and kind of bask in your stillness because you never know what's going to come of it. That's my problem. I move around too much and I'm like, I can't wait. This is annoying. I got to go. You got to sometimes be okay with being stagnant and going through that pace and that journey to see what's going to come out on the outcome. So that's something that I really took from it. And then when you first mentioned about you have to also be careful who you walk that journey with during your inspection, because some people are not really meant for you, and also those people can hinder you. So I took that as well.
Yes. Anybody else want to share what they learned? Well, I'll share. I learned that the ark, I always looked at it. I knew that the ark was a place of refuge. But the ark was really a place where you could go to grow and to learn, kind of like what you all was saying about having a self-reflection. I feel like sometimes we all need to lock ourselves into an ark. Maybe not for 150 days, but I learned that sometimes I need to lock myself in, or let the Lord lock me in, should I say, and then grow. Be quiet and listen and grow. Because that ark period is an important period. And not always look at the ark like it was a big party boat, or it was something just made to house the people for the 150 days. It was the whole purpose behind that ark. And just to know that I had to pass, when I was teaching a lesson and or writing, getting the lesson together, and to know when the Lord gave me, I passed inspection, that did something to me. Because how many times do we feel like we good enough, and we like you guys said, and you still sitting there like, Lord, I know I'm ready. I know I'm ready, because nobody want to look at themselves and say, well, I'm still here, so I must not be ready. You know, I remember, it's been a while, Sherry used to tell me, there is it's still a reason why you at that job, because somebody needs you. But when you're ready to move, you don't want to hear that. You feel like, I'm ready to move. I feel like I passed this inspection. So what else is it that I need to learn? So if that's a question that we should ask ourselves, Lord, why am I still on this journey, on this level of this inspection? 1. 2, what else is it that I need to learn while I'm on this level, on this inspection? And 3, most important, what do I need to do, Lord, so I could get off of this level, so I can pass this inspection? That's what I learned. Anybody else want to share? Okay. Well, ladies, you know, we won't have Bible study this Thursday because I'm going to be out of town, but we will resume Bible study again next Thursday at 7:00. So I will send out the reading for next week, and I'll send out the little our things that we wrote down for our self-reflection, and I'll send out the homework, and I'll send out a little word of encouragement. And you know, I really enjoy each and every one of y'all. This Bible study means so much, and I'm glad that everybody come in and they leave learning something that just does my heart joy. So I just want to say good night, and I can't wait to keep it real with you guys next week.
All righty.
All right.
Thank you.
Have fun on your
Good
trip.
night.
Thank you.
Yes, safe
Good
travels.
night.